Hey YouTube, it's JP Dillon. Today we're looking at a late 60s Soundesign model 2229 AM FM AC DC radio. And this was a pickup at a yard sale. It was reasonably priced. It looks like death. But I kind of have an affinity for these little guys. You can definitely see that there were some battery crusties in there. You can't see much beyond the AC cord reel. I have not seen whether this powers up or not, or maybe it is in the late 60s. When did we start getting toll-free numbers? I don't think that was until later. So maybe it's a 70s radio. I don't know, somebody told me it was like 68 or 69. Okay. So out of curiosity, I'm going to plug it in and we're going to see what it does, if anything, and then attempt to service it so that it works. It's kind of a cool little thing. It's even got a little pocket for the cord to fit into. Alright, so bear with me here. Let me plug in. Just unplug the Sanyo. Let's see what she does. Whole lot of nothing. Not even so much as a hiss. Alright. Let's trickle some deoxit down in the power switch here and see if it's just dirty. Work it a bit. No signs of life. So let's see if there's some hidden AC/DC switch up in here. I don't think so. Yeah, not that I can tell anyway. Alright, so it is dead. Let's crack it open and see what could be causing that. Alright, so here we are at one of the auxiliary workbenches. And normally I'd be using my workbench. My workbench is currently occupied by this pile, this Marantz 250, which is, the right channel was blown up, and the left channel has had a plethora of problems and bad semiconductors. So it was just offsetting to the rail intermittently, and it's just kind of chilling here, and we're just observing it. And I've got an alarm on the output so that if, we get an offset or something, it goes beep, 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 and then I can know that there's a problem. So yeah, burn-in phase, and then if everything's cool, we'll put the finals back in and bench test it. But that's not going to be in this video because that set was irritating me, and so I'm just going to step away from it and let it cook. So in order to get this out, you have to take loose the battery holder, which we can see is very chromatic here. And then you can take off the plastic part here. And here's the innards of our little Soundesign thing. And you really can't access that power switch at all. It's like really buried in there. You literally have to take the whole board out. So because there's no sign of life, the first thing I want to do is see if this transformer is working. It's ice cold. It's absolutely ice cold. So it's not like there's a short and it's pulling down the transformer and that's why it's not working. Also, I don't see there being any switch or anything like that. Like normally these would have a switch where you go from crap. Yeah, I didn't even look at that. Switch from AC to DC. But it's currently on DC. So that means it would be looking for batteries and not that. God, I feel stupid. Yeah. So let's clean the AC DC switch, which we neglected to even look for. And then we'll power it up. Everybody like the death sirens there? Yeah, I was just going to wait for that to go by. So now that we got everything happy in the switch in the appropriate position, we're going to see if this works. So let's go clicky here. Oh yeah! Ready to party. So obviously we've got some bad filters in there. Let's see where they're hiding. They've got this superior transformer configuration. So here's this. It's probably one of these two guys here that are bad. Let's go grab the capacitor wizard and see which one. So I'm going to guess by the fact that this one back here has this shiny electrolyte P in it, that this is probably the dead one. That's very dead. Yeah, that's when you see those ESR numbers, that's like what a 0.47 would be. So, yeah, no. And then we got this other dude here, who's even deader than that. It's like really dead. So obviously both of those gotta go. And check some of these other ones while we're in here too. So we got this one down here, dead. And we got this one over here, also dead. Then we got this one here, which is mostly dead. So yeah, this has really got to get yanked, and we just got to do the famous recap job. And yeah, you know, the camera's going to be jerky and stuff because this bench does not have a camera mount. So it's pretty much all just free-handed. And let's see what other fun things I'm going to have to deal with. I don't know if that tuning knob is going to have to come off, or hopefully it just comes out with the rest of the board. But yeah, recap time. I can't even get to this one. But I'm assuming if it's anything like the other ones, it's probably dead. So we really have to pull this board out and recap it before we even know if the radio is going to work or not. I mean, I could clip something in there. But then, you know, the coupling cap here in the audio is dead, so we're not going to get much sound. These other two, this one's mostly dead, this one's also dead. So, yeah, it's probably not going to work. So, new cap time it is. I got most of the screws out of this thing, but it's still caught up on something. I'm trying to figure out what that is. It's not the tuner, because I can lift up on that. That will come with me. And if I flip it over, I see that the dial scale is attached to the chassis, so that was at least one intelligent thing they did. But something down here is hanging up. I'm trying to figure out what that is, and then we'll get this thing out of here. Alright, so it looks like no matter what, I'm going to have to remove the antenna and some other bracketry here because, yeah, I can get it up. You just have to be a little violent, and it does clear the edge of the cabinet here where it's hanging. But I'm still going to have to take that screw loose because the whole chassis has to come straight up. So with the antenna clear, now we can get the board up enough to where I should be able to get to most of this. May have to take the dial scale loose. I really don't want to, but that could very well be, especially for this this guy right here underneath it, and then this guy here. I really don't want to destring that, so if there's enough leads that I can clean and attach a new capacitor to, I will. I don't like doing that, but I also don't want to spend another hour trying to restring this dial because it's kind of complicated. Yep, don't want to do that. Not worth it to me. So what I'm going to do is, these are all fairly straightforward values. We've got a 33. We've got a something down in here which I can't read. 10 microfarad. Yeah, so we got a 33, a 10, two 470s, and then whatever this dude is down here, which has like no markings. That's cool. The yellow thing has no markings at all. So we'll yank it and see if our component identifier has some form of capacitance. It's probably like another 470 or something like that. Not sure. So, yep, gonna need 2 hands for this. I'm gonna desolder these guys and put in new caps. We'll clean the pots and switches while we're at it, and then reassemble it and see how well it works. So if you're curious as to what I do here, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but maybe I'll switch to macro instead. But there's leads sticking up there. I don't know why this thing doesn't want to focus. Again, dying camera, but I'm yanking out my old Canon this weekend and going to get it charged up and get a tripod. So hopefully the next videos will be a lot clearer. Let's switch to macro and see if that... Yeah, so there are my 2 leads sticking up from the board. And what I've done is I've scraped them with an X-Acto knife to make sure the surface is nice and clean. Now we'll take our capacitor, and you can see these little eyelets I've made after trimming down the leads, maybe about 3 or 4 millimeters off the leads. And so then what we do is we tin up everything so that it's ready to put in. And then we just slide the eyelets over the post, solder it up, and it makes a good connection. I do one side at a time so that I still have room to work with the other side. So there it is with one side soldered down. And then all I'll need to do is take the other eyelet and push it over this. And since everything's pre-tinned, I can just come in here with my soldering iron and touch the 2 together. And the solder sticks, and I've got my connection. So that way I don't have to worry about it getting, broken loose or whatever. You can wiggle it and it's solid. So I had to do that with the 33, the 10, and then this 470 up here. The other one I could just solder to the board, no problem. And these other ones down here are accessible, and I don't have to risk busting the tuner string or de-stringing anything. So, yeah. So I'm just going to replace the remaining 2 here, and then start putting it back together after we clean stuff up. Alright, so we got our capacitors in. The big mystery capacitor, I don't know what it is, but the ESR meter says it's great and it's not shorted. So I'm going to leave that one alone, since there is absolutely no markings on it. But all the other electrolytics have gotten changed. I've cleaned the slide pots with the infamous Vader lube and the remaining switch. So I'm going to stick this thing back together, and then we'll apply power to it, see where we've gotten. Okie dokie. All back inside and looking all fancy. Let's see what she does.
La caída de nieve y la vista.
Be our refuge.
Tratar de no.
There's KFI.
These roads getting a little bit better, in fact. As I speak, Burbank Boulevard over at the reader about it, because she always loved them.
Pretty good on AM. How about FM here? Sounds like silver mica disease, doesn't it? Betting it's a transistor problem in the IF stage. Still a little tiny bit of hum there, so that tells you that the AC supply was not designed very well. I question the...
Ways are up on our website at togo.com. And thank you so much.
Interesting, huh?
contest and
Definitely not a loose connection or anything. Long overdue. Oh, did I say something? Oh well.
Hi, a gallon. More than yesterday.
coffee lovers, it's your day. We've got burning up.
There's definitely a lot of sensitivity around that.
Is there a tiara for me? Real-time traffic and weather on the way. Cover to your sign 847.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? At SGFatLoss.com. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight.
See, I wonder if it's really this switch that's causing an issue, because as soon as I touch the switch, the machine behaves so differently. So I need to get some more contact cleaner in here.
Radio 600. Kogo.
Yeah, so cleaning the switch definitely helps with the AM issues.
About all the hidden only store.
But we've still got intermittent FM. Well, it's gone from being intermittent to non-existent. So we have to take a look again and see what could be causing that. And I suspect there would be an IF or an oscillator transistor at fault. So we need to start checking some voltages and see what we get there. Alright, so if we're looking in here, let's see, we got 6 volts on the collector, 5.6 on the emitter, and 5.0 on the, oh, that's right, these are reversed. These old Hitachi ones, the base is on the left, so we have 5.6 there, and we have 5 there, so this is on. And then we've got the second IF here, 6.3 on the collector, 6344 on the base, 6345 there. So that looks like a short to me. Yeah, maybe. That changed. Unless I was touching both at the same time. Oh, 6.3, 6.3, okay. Alright, maybe not. Yeah, I'm just poking around on places it shouldn't be. So that's about the same reading as the first IF there. Okay, and let's move on to the next one. Assuming I can get to it here. 4.5 on the base, and 3.8 on the emitter there, and 6.0 on the collector. There's a little bit of aggravation there, but no real sign of life yet. And since we have a hum there, that tells us everything forward is alive. Otherwise we wouldn't be getting any signal there. So, and we still have to take a look at these guys here. So we got 6.3 volts, 5.8 volts, 6.3 volts, 6328, 6329. That looks shorted. I'm pretty sure that shouldn't be that way. 6326 on that one. 6328. That's pretty much a short. I wonder if that's our oscillator transistor. Okay, so let's take a look here. Got 4.2 on the base. 3.6. So there's 6 across that and the proper voltage here. So far, the only one that's misbehaving is this guy here. And that could be our FM oscillator. I really don't know. But let's see, I have the middle pin, I believe, is supposed to be the base. So I have 5.87 on the base there. I have 6.32, come on, get a good grip, 6.325 there. And this is just all over the place. There we go, 6.325 on that pin. So that looks like the same to me. So those two pins are at the same potential. It's not being a very good transistor. So that kind of sucks. It means that I'm probably going to have to yank that board again. Just out of curiosity, let me see if I can hang the probes at both sides and see if I can determine a short there. So there's no short between those two pins, but the voltage is the same between the collector and the emitter. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I think the next thing I'm going to try to do is hit it with some freeze mist and see if that brings back our FM, because that's a pretty consistent resistance reading there. And if I turn this off, let me go back to whatever and go to the diode check. Give me a second here to position myself. Between base and emitter, we have a diode there. And between base and collector, we have a diode there. But we also have, if we reverse polarity between the base and collector, we get a much lower reading. So I don't know if that's really good or not. So since it started out okay and got worse, we're going to hit it with the freeze spray here and see what my suspicions are correct. No change there. Well, this could entirely be for the AM, and I'm just shooting the wrong thing. So let's go up to the top IF here. No change yet. Interesting. Let's go back to this one here. Hear that little crackling in the speaker there. Doesn't happen on the first or the third one. Yeah, I don't know why it freezed that, since we already determined there was audio through here. Just being silly, I guess. So the next thing would be to get the scope out and dump in a 10.7. I wonder if I have a portable signal generator that'll go that high. I can't get to my signal generator and scope because the Marantz is occupying the bench, so signal tracer it is. Let's go to the first one. Turn the gain way down. This is not true ground. Not what this is. Nothing. Like no activity at all. There's that noise again. A lovely transistor noise. Sounds like silver mica disease, but usually it's transistor noise. And it's amplifying it. Yeah, I think that's for AM. So definitely this 2SC 1417 I'd be suspect of. I definitely would be suspect of that. It's like killing the FM. That's probably our mixer oscillator. But they use them all throughout the IF, so yeah. But that definitely, the noise starts here, and then it gets amplified here and louder, and then we don't get a whole lot here, but it's definitely something to look at. Alright, so now that we have that Marantz project clear, which is fixed by the way, we're going to have a little more viable tools to help us troubleshoot this guy. Now, when it's been sitting a long time, the FM works, but it's got this horrible crackling like it's silver mica disease. And as it warms up, it gets progressively worse. So I've tried hitting things with freeze mist, and really hasn't helped us any. We can see that the FM is pretty much about gone now. Interesting, huh? And so if I just come in here and I start freezing things in the IF strip, like I've already replaced these two IF amplifiers. Let's freeze this guy here, which is our third IF amp. Doesn't seem to change things, does it? So I wonder if we have a small value capacitor or something that's starting to short. There's two green guys there, but no change. Yeah, there just doesn't seem to be anything that changes it. Someone was messing with this IF transformer. You can see the wax is all busted out. There's a little tiny cap next to that. But yeah, after it warms up, it's pretty much gone. No FM at all. While it's running, it's okay. This I was pretty sure was the AM stage, because we've got mixer oscillator, and then we've got two IFs, and then a detector diode over here, so they are separate from each other. And if I switch over to AM,
that's the kind of...
that still works perfectly fine. So yeah, this is a bit of a puzzler. Unless we have components on the other side, which I doubt. I mean, I can check into that. I haven't really paid attention to that much yet, so I think that's going to be the next step, is pulling that out and just doing a brief examination to see if there's some component I missed. Now, since we have our signal generator here, let's do our 10.7 megahertz here. And let's see Yeah, see, if I just... That definitely picks it up. Yeah, so our IF strip is working. Yeah, it's working. So it's something in the oscillator circuit. But what's hard to say is this our oscillator, or is something underneath here our oscillator? Because freezing these components around here, which you would think would turn up a thermal problem, does not make the FM return. And I just replaced these two, so I'm thinking that's not going to be it, since there was no change. So let's pull this board up again and see if there's anything underneath that I'm missing. I'm going to have to do something loathsome that I hate to do, and that's to take the dial face off here. I really don't want to do that. I just seem to have this horrific luck with the dial cords becoming unstrung or breaking dial cords, and then I gotta do all that again. So, not my favorite. Let's see if I can't just pull that off there. All right, so yeah, there's no obvious sign of like hidden transistors or anything like that for the oscillator circuit underneath here. There's that one solder joint there that I could have done a little bit better on. It's not going to cooperate. There we go. I don't think that's it. Yeah, so there's something definitely going on here on this board. I just don't know what it is. And I have not seen an instance yet where you get silver mica disease inside of these little guys here. That's not to say that it can't happen, but we need to do some more troubleshooting first to figure out which one of these awful scenarios it is. I think I'm going to redo this IF transistor here. It's just kind of irritating me. That means I got to very carefully solder around that again. So let me switch out the position of that transistor. All right, so we got the position of that transistor in a better place. Still no joy in Mudville. Trying to get this into a position where I can better work on it because there's, well, very little room to work on it. And if I take enough of it apart where I can't, then can't work on it. Yeah, so I'm going to guess over here is our oscillator circuit. I'm going to try switching to the Soundtech 1000 and just brute force the signal in there and see if we can do something to try to troubleshoot where this is falling off from. Yeah, that front end is just gone. Not there at all. All right, let me ponder this for a little bit. Well, this just seems to be getting worse and worse. I was trying to troubleshoot on the oscillator side of the FM, and all of a sudden my flywheel cracked and broke. There's the chunk of plastic there that holds it on the hub. And then on top of that, when I went to investigate about shoring that up and epoxying it in, I did the genius move of busting loose one of these wires for the antenna here. So I think I'm going to bow out of this one, and we might do something a little bit more useful with it, like converting it to a little amplified speaker or something like that, because with a broken flywheel I can't tune it. And I've tried putting shims and washers between this and the tuning condenser, and that didn't help. And then of course busting the wire that goes to the antenna didn't help either, so this one's kind of buggered. And that's my doing. Now if this had been a customer unit, I definitely would have to investigate on fixing it since I caused these issues, but since this is my own thing and it's just kind of a shelf queen really, I'm just going to turn it into a little powered speaker with an auxiliary input. Okay, so here was my solution. You can see I cut the wire from the selector switch, the band selector switch there, to the input high side of the volume control, and I've got a 3.5mm auxiliary cable attached with some snubber resistors, 100K. You never connect the left and right directly together because impedance mismatch will usually piss off the op amps inside of whatever device you're using. So I always will have a set of 100Ks tied at a point to the input and then to left and right, so it looks like about 50K to the input, a standard line level. And we've just got the cord zip tied there for a little bit of strain relief, so you can't really yank on it and break stuff. But yeah, it's back together, and then if I put the other stuff in its place, like once we get all this back together, you won't even really notice it. In fact, let's finish reassembling it. See, with the back cover on, you can't even really tell it's there or not, other than the additional obvious cable sticking out for the auxiliary input. Alright, so here it is, back together. And I'm just going to use my little old Toshiba Walkman here as a source. But just as an example, I can turn that on.
Down below, we're howling in pain.
And then just use that to tune.
Nervous? Very. Sitting.
So obviously, I can now use whatever I decide to plug into the aux cable to play through this. I cleaned up the battery terminals so it can be portable if I need it to be. And it sounds just a teeny weeny bit better than the little crappy phone speaker that's, you know, in your phone or whatever you're going to play it through. And I suppose if I wanted to get really clever, I could incorporate a Bluetooth receiver into here somehow. But for now, this at least makes it usable and useful. Let's clean it up a little bit. Well, it does clean up a little bit. It's a shame that I couldn't restore it practically because it is, well, it's not complete. It's missing the little decorative black plates here. But I just kind of like this design. It's kind of a cool design. And so this is an example of you can't fix them all. The plastic on the flywheel was crumbling and it broke apart as I was troubleshooting. It may have a silver mica disease problem, but I've never seen them in these tiny little cans before, so maybe somebody can chime in on that with more experience than me. But at least now it has an audio input I can attach to another device that maybe has a small library of music or something else. So at least it's not completely useless, and it will look nice with my other ones on the shelf. And yes, you can see there's no more dial pointer. Since the flywheel was broken, I figured just unstring the dial. I disconnected the power to the AM and FM sections by cutting a couple traces so that the battery consumption will be minimal. And that's all reversible, assuming I find a flywheel at some point, which I doubt. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the journey. And thanks for watching. More stuff to come.